If you are over 70, your doctor has likely told you that these three tests are absolutely mandatory for your health. But what if the very procedures meant to save you were actually the things putting your independence at risk? I'm Dr. Samuel Hartley. In my 25 years of practice, I used to order these screenings automatically. I thought I was being thorough. I thought I was protecting my patients. But the medical evidence has quietly shifted. And what we are seeing now suggests that for healthy seniors, the risks of these routine procedures often outweigh the benefits. We are talking about complications that can turn a healthy, active grandparent into a hospital patient overnight. Today, I want to have an honest, perhaps uncomfortable conversation about the three tests you might want to reconsider, and specifically, why the second one on this list is causing unnecessary harm to thousands of men every single year. This isn't about ignoring your health. It is about understanding the difference between healthcare and a conveyor belt. Let's begin with the procedure that most of us dread the most, simply because of the preparation involved. Routine colonoscopy screening after age 75. Now, notice I said screening. If you are seeing blood or experiencing sudden weight loss, that is a diagnostic necessity. You and your doctor need to investigate that. But if you are feeling fine, if you are just doing it because the calendar says it has been 10 years, we need to pause. Here is the biological reality that the conveyor belt of modern medicine often ignores. When we are 50, our intestinal walls are robust. They are elastic. They can handle the pressure and the navigation of the scope with ease. But after 70, those tissues change. They become thinner. We often develop small pockets called diverticula. Think of it like a garden hose. When it is brand new, it is flexible and strong. But if you leave that hose out in the sun for 20 years, it becomes brittle. It doesn't take much force to create a crack. In medical terms, we call this the risk of perforation. And the data shows that for seniors, this risk isn't just slightly higher. It jumps significantly. But the danger often starts before you even get to the hospital. The PrEP, that aggressive dehydration to clear your system, is profound stress on an older body. I have seen perfectly healthy seniors faint, suffer kidney strain, or experience electrolyte imbalances that trigger heart arrhythmias, simply from the preparation fluid. And we have to ask, for what? Colorectal cancer is generally a slow-moving adversary. A polyp can take 10 to 15 years to become dangerous. If you had a clear scan at 65 and you're now 75, the statistical likelihood of a new polyp ending your life is far lower than the immediate risk of the procedure itself injuring you. The United States Preventive Services Task Force, one of the most conservative bodies in medicine, now recommends against routine screening for most people over 75. They looked at the math, and they realized that in our effort to be safe, we were actually causing harm. But while the colonoscopy carries a physical risk, this next test poses a different kind of trap. It is a test that targets men specifically, and it creates a psychological domino effect that has left thousands of seniors with life-altering side effects they never needed to suffer. This brings us to the second test, and this one is arguably the most controversial because it challenges our deepest instinct, the desire to find cancer early. It is the PSA test for prostate cancer screening. For decades, the standard advice was simple: test everyone. If the number is high, biopsy. If we find cells, remove them. But here is the truth that autopsy studies have revealed, a truth that changed how I practice medicine. If you look at men over the age of 70 who passed away from completely unrelated causes, heart attacks or just old age, autopsies show that 60 to 70% of them had prostate cancer cells in their body. They had cancer, but they didn't know it. And more importantly, the cancer never hurt them. We call this indolent cancer. I like to explain it to my patients this way. Imagine a bear hibernating deep in a cave. As long as that bear is asleep, it is not a threat. You can walk past the cave for 20 years and nothing happens. But a PSA test is like walking into that cave with a flashlight, and a biopsy. That is poking the bear with a sharp stick. When we find these slow-growing cells in a 75-year-old man, the medical system feels pressured to act. We treat. We use radiation. We perform surgery. And the consequences of that treatment are often devastating. I cannot tell you how many men I have sat with, men who were vibrant and active, who are now dealing with permanent incontinence or sexual dysfunction. They lost their dignity to cure a cancer that likely would have stayed asleep for the rest of their lives. A massive European study followed over 160,000 men for 13 years. It found that for men over 70, routine PSA screening did not significantly reduce death from prostate cancer. It didn't save lives, but it did create thousands of patients suffering from the side effects of treatment they didn't need. Now, again, if you have a family history or you are in a high-risk group, that is a different conversation. But for the average healthy senior, we have to ask, is the risk of waking the bear worth the price of your quality of life? And while this test risks your physical dignity, the next one risks trapping you in a cycle of medication that is incredibly hard to escape. This brings us to the third trap. It is the one that sounds the most responsible. The cardiac stress test. We all want to know our heart is strong. It feels like the prudent thing to do. But here is where the biology of aging clashes with the technology of screening. As we age, our arteries naturally become a little stiffer. They calcify slightly. This is often just a normal part of wearing a body for 70 years. But on a stress test, that stiffness can look suspicious. It triggers a false positive. And this is where the conveyor belt moves fast. Because once that test looks abnormal, your doctor cannot just ignore it. They have to investigate. So, you go for an angiogram, a catheter threaded into your heart. Now we have crossed from a checkup into an invasive procedure, and while they are in there, they might find a 40% blockage. Now, in many cases, that blockage is stable. It has likely been there for years. Your blood flows around it. It wasn't bothering you, but because we saw it, the impulse is to fix it. So, they put in a stent. And the moment that stent goes in, your life changes. You are now on blood thinners for the rest of your life. Suddenly, a simple fall in the garden isn't just a bruise. It's a medical emergency because your blood won't clot. You went in feeling fine. You walked out a cardiac patient on heavy medication. A study in JAMA Cardiology followed 10,000 seniors without symptoms. It found that those who got routine stress tests didn't live longer and didn't have fewer heart attacks than those who just lived their lives. But they did end up with far more procedures and medications. It is what I call the cascade of intervention. One test triggers a treatment, which triggers a side effect, which triggers a new medication. So, if we aren't doing these tests, does that mean we just cross our fingers and hope for the best? Absolutely not. There is a much more effective way to protect your longevity. It doesn't happen in a doctor's office once a year. It happens in your kitchen every morning. Let me share the simple daily protocol that I believe does more for your long-term independence than any screening test ever could. So, if we step off the conveyor belt of endless testing, what should we be doing instead? If you want to protect your independence, we need to stop chasing sleeping bears and start fighting the real enemy. The enemy that actually drives heart disease, cancer, and stroke. That enemy is chronic inflammation. While a PSA test looks for a disease you might get, inflammation is damaging your cells right now. So, instead of scheduling a stress test, I want you to schedule a 10-minute walk after every single meal. It sounds too simple to be medicine, doesn't it? But walking for 10 minutes after eating reduces the blood sugar spike, the very spike that causes inflammation in your arteries, by nearly 40%. Instead of a colonoscopy prep that dehydrates you, I want you to focus on hydration and fiber. A simple bowl of oatmeal with berries and walnuts acts like a gentle brush for your colon, keeping the lining healthy without the trauma of a scope. These are not aggressive interventions. They are gentle signals. You are telling your body that it is safe, that it is nourished, and that it is still capable of healing. This brings us to the final choice. The medical system often treats seniors like passengers in a broken car. They poke, they prod, and they wait for something to fall apart so they can fix it. But you are not a passenger. You are the pilot. Refusing a test isn't about being reckless. It is about knowing that your quality of life today matters more than a statistic on a chart. It is about trusting that your body is not a ticking time bomb, but a resilient vessel that has carried you this far. Protect your peace. Protect your dignity. And remember, the best health plan isn't found in a hospital chart. It is found in how you choose to live your day. If this conversation helped you see your health differently, please share it with someone you love. It might just save them from a procedure they never needed. I'm Dr. Samuel Hartley, looking out for you.